I never imagined I'd be the one to break down at my own granddaughter's wedding. Not from emotion, though there was plenty of that, but physically when my legs simply refused to cooperate during the father-daughter dance. At 72, I'd always prided myself on being young for my age, the guy who still mowed his own lawn and drove cross-country to visit family. The pain started as a dull ache that morning, something I dismissed with my usual stubbornness. By evening, as I stood to join the traditional dance my daughter had planned for months, my knees buckled beneath me. The music continued, but I couldn't rise from my chair, my independence seemingly vanishing in an instant. You might recognize this scenario or fear it happening to you someday. That moment when your body betrays you, not because of some dramatic illness, but from the accumulation of habits you never realized were slowly diminishing your strength. The truth is, most of us don't see the warning signs until they've become problems. Margaret, my neighbor who teaches senior fitness classes, later told me about a former marathon runner who couldn't climb stairs at 68. He thought his running days had permanently protected him, she explained, but he'd spent the last decade sitting at his desk job without realizing how quickly inactivity was undoing his former strength. I spent 40 years behind a desk, proud of my corner office with its ergonomic chair and impressive view. What I didn't realize was that my expensive chair was slowly robbing me of mobility, one comfortable hour at a time. My morning jog had given me false confidence that 30 minutes of exercise could counteract 14 hours of sitting. You've probably heard sitting called the new smoking, but have you actually changed your habits? Most of us dismiss warnings that don't cause immediate discomfort. We tell ourselves we'll stand more tomorrow, stretch next week, or start that new exercise routine next month. Research shows that even if you exercise regularly, sitting for prolonged periods significantly increases health risks. Sarah, my physical therapist, works with dozens of retired professionals facing mobility issues. They all say the same thing, she told me during one of our sessions. I had no idea sitting so much was hurting me when I felt fine at the time. He made me set an alarm that would ring every 30 minutes, forcing me to stand, stretch, and take at least 20 steps before returning to whatever I was doing. This simple change, just 2 minutes of movement for every 30 minutes of sitting, began rebuilding what years of sedentary living had stolen. I always thought I ate well, plenty of vegetables, whole grains, and the occasional fish. When my doctor ordered a nutritional assessment, I was shocked to learn I was significantly under-consuming protein. It's extremely common in your age group, explained Dr. Williams. Your body actually needs more protein now, not less. You might assume that protein requirements decrease with age since you're not as active as before. This dangerous misconception leads many older adults to consume inadequate amounts of this critical nutrient. Without sufficient protein, your muscles gradually waste away, regardless of how otherwise healthy your diet seems. The science behind this is straightforward. After 65, our bodies become less efficient at processing protein, requiring more to maintain the same muscle mass. Jennifer, the nutritionist who developed my new eating plan, shared stories of clients who transformed their energy levels within weeks of increasing protein intake. They come in thinking they need medication for fatigue, she said, but often they just need eggs for breakfast. She suggested I aim for at least 30 grams of protein with each meal, equivalent to a palm-sized portion of meat, fish, or plant-based alternatives like tofu. I supplemented with Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, and protein smoothies between meals. Within a month, I noticed improved strength during my therapy sessions. I've always been a light sleeper, I told my doctor when she questioned my sleep habits. Besides, I only need 5 hours now. That's normal for someone my age. Her expression told me everything before she even spoke. That's one of the most dangerous myths about aging, she responded firmly. Your need for sleep hasn't decreased, just your ability to achieve it. You may have accepted poor sleep as an inevitable part of getting older, but this mindset can accelerate aging processes throughout your body. Poor sleep affects everything from cognitive function to immune response, making it a silent contributor to nearly every age-related decline. The truth about sleep after 65 is that while sleep patterns change, the need for quality rest remains critical. Richard, who runs a senior wellness program at our community center, described a participant who reversed early cognitive decline primarily through sleep improvements. Everyone was focused on brain games and supplements, he explained. But fixing his sleep apnea and establishing a consistent bedtime routine made the biggest difference. My own sleep revolution began with simple changes. No screens after 8 p.m., a bedroom temperature of exactly 67 degrees, blackout curtains, and a consistent bedtime ritual. Within weeks, I was sleeping nearly 7 hours without interruption, waking with energy I hadn't felt in a decade. My daily walks had always been my source of pride. 2 miles every morning, rain or shine. When the physical therapist asked about strength training, I pointed to my walking shoes. "That's my exercise right there," I declared confidently. Her gentle correction would change my understanding of fitness forever. "Walking is wonderful," she acknowledged, "but it's not enough by itself. You might believe that walking provides complete fitness, especially if you've maintained this habit for years. But walking primarily builds endurance, leaving strength, balance, and flexibility underdeveloped. This creates vulnerable areas that become increasingly problematic with age." Mary, who teaches senior fitness at the local Y, shared countless stories of dedicated walkers who still experienced falls. They had cardiovascular endurance but lacked the leg strength to catch themselves when they stumbled, or the balance to prevent the stumble in the first place, she explained during a community workshop. The solution isn't abandoning walking, but supplementing it with targeted resistance training and balance exercises. I started with simple bodyweight movements, squats while holding onto a sturdy chair, wall push-ups, and single-leg balancing while brushing my teeth. These small additions to my routine built strength in previously neglected muscle groups. The day I ended up in the emergency room with dehydration was the day I finally took water seriously. The doctor explained that my dizziness, confusion, and rapid heartbeat weren't signs of a stroke as I'd feared, but severe dehydration. "Your thirst sensation diminishes with age," she explained. "By the time you feel thirsty, you're already significantly dehydrated. You know you should drink water, but do you track your intake or wait until thirst prompts you? For adults over 65, thirst no longer reliably indicates the body's need for hydration. This biological change requires a conscious approach to drinking water throughout the day." Dehydration affects older adults disproportionately, with some studies suggesting up to 40% of seniors may be chronically dehydrated. James, a geriatric nurse at our local hospital, told me they frequently see patients admitted for symptoms that resolve with simple rehydration. "They come in disoriented or after a fall," he said, "and sometimes all they needed was consistent water intake. I now keep a marked water bottle that I fill twice daily, ensuring I consume at least 64 ounces before bedtime. I set reminders on my phone for the first few months until the habit became automatic. Proper hydration reduced my joint pain, improved my energy, and eliminated the afternoon headaches I'd incorrectly attributed to eye strain." If you're enjoying this narrative so far and finding value in these insights about healthy aging, I'd love your support. Please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. By sharing this content with others who might benefit, you're helping build a community focused on vibrant, intentional aging. Now, let's continue with our journey through the habits that shape our golden years. The pile of pill bottles on my nightstand had grown slowly over the years. One for blood pressure, another for cholesterol, something for occasional pain, plus various supplements recommended by friends and articles. I took them dutifully without questioning how they might interact or whether I still needed each one. It wasn't until my new pharmacist suggested a medication review that I discovered the problem. You might assume your doctors automatically coordinate your medications, but with specialists often working independently, this crucial oversight frequently falls through the cracks. Many older adults take multiple medications prescribed by different doctors, creating potential interactions that no single physician is monitoring. Elizabeth, a geriatric pharmacist, shared stories of patients taking medications that counteracted each other or caused side effects mistakenly treated with additional drugs. "I had one patient taking a sleep medication that was causing morning dizziness, for which another doctor prescribed a medication that caused dehydration," she explained. "The entire cascade could have been avoided with a comprehensive review." My own review revealed I was taking 2 medications with duplicate effects and a supplement that reduced the effectiveness of my blood pressure medication. A simplified regimen not only saved money but eliminated side effects I'd been experiencing for years without recognizing their source. I prided myself on self-sufficiency after my wife passed away. I handled household tasks alone, limited social engagements to occasional family visits, and told everyone I was doing fine without burdening them. It took a concerned daughter and an insightful doctor to help me see that my independence had morphed into isolation, affecting my health in measurable ways. You may not realize that social isolation impacts physical health just as significantly as smoking or obesity. Research consistently shows that regular, meaningful human interaction strengthens immune function, improves cardiovascular health, and even increases longevity. Yet many older adults prioritize independence over connection. Dr. Thompson, who specializes in geriatric medicine, told me about research showing that socially connected seniors have lower rates of chronic disease. I had a patient who tracked his blood pressure at home, he said. We noticed it was consistently lower on days he attended his volunteer work compared to days spent alone, even though the volunteer work was more physically demanding. The prescription was simple but profound. Scheduled weekly social activities with a purpose beyond mere socialization. I joined a community garden group, volunteered at the library's literacy program, and reconnected with my bowling league. Each interaction provided structure, meaning, and the vital human connection my body and mind required. The crossword puzzles I'd faithfully completed each morning gave me confidence about maintaining my mental acuity. At least my mind is still sharp, I'd tell my children when they expressed concern about other aspects of my health. It wasn't until a cognitive assessment that I learned my approach to brain health was as incomplete as my physical fitness routine had been. You might believe that puzzles and brain games are sufficient to maintain cognitive function, but current research suggests a more comprehensive approach is necessary. Just as physical fitness requires varied exercises, cognitive health depends on diverse mental challenges combined with other lifestyle factors. Barbara, a neuropsychologist specializing in cognitive aging, explained that effective brain health strategies involve novelty and progressive challenge. Many people do the same level of crossword puzzles for decades, she noted. While that maintains existing neural pathways, it doesn't create new connections or adapt to increasing difficulty the way effective cognitive training should. The brain health program she recommended included learning new skills. I chose Spanish and digital photography, physical exercise that coordinates multiple body movements, meditation for stress reduction, and social activities requiring dynamic interaction. This integrated approach addressed cognitive health from multiple angles rather than isolating it to singular activities. My financial planning had always focused on accumulating sufficient retirement savings. I'd calculated housing, food, travel, and general living expenses with careful precision. What I hadn't adequately factored in were the potentially catastrophic healthcare costs that can devastate even substantial savings, particularly expenses not covered by Medicare. You may have a retirement plan that assumes standard healthcare coverage will be sufficient without accounting for long-term care, which Medicare typically doesn't cover. This oversight leaves many seniors financially vulnerable precisely when they have limited ability to generate new income. William, a financial advisor specializing in retirement planning, shared stories of clients who had saved diligently but underestimated healthcare costs. One couple had to sell their home of 40 years because they needed funds for in-home care, he said. With proper planning, they could have maintained both their care needs and their residence. After consulting with a specialist in elder finance, I restructured my assets to include long-term care insurance and created a separate health emergency fund specifically for expenses beyond standard coverage. This adjustment provided not just financial security, but peace of mind that my children wouldn't face difficult decisions about my care based on financial limitations. I can't possibly have side effects. I've been taking these medications for years without problems, I insisted when my new doctor suggested my dizziness might be medication-related. She patiently explained a concept I'd never considered. Our body's responses to medications change as we age, meaning a drug tolerated well for decades can suddenly cause problems. You might assume that long-term medication use guarantees continued safety and effectiveness, but aging alters how your body processes drugs. Changes in metabolism, kidney function, and body composition can transform a once-appropriate medication into a potential source of new symptoms. Dr. Garcia, who specializes in geriatric pharmacology, explained that many symptoms attributed to just getting older are actually medication effects. I had a patient with increasing balance problems who'd been taking the same sleep medication for 15 years, she said. When we switched to an alternative better suited for older adults, his balance issues resolved within weeks. My medication review led to adjusted dosages for 2 prescriptions and the elimination of another that was no longer necessary. These changes resolved the dizziness I'd experienced for months and improved my morning energy levels. The lesson was clear. Even long-standing prescriptions require regular reassessment as our bodies change. The persistent afternoon headaches I attributed to eye strain had a surprisingly simple cause. After keeping a detailed symptom journal at my doctor's request, a pattern emerged. Headaches coincided with my lowest hydration periods. Many seniors are chronically dehydrated without recognizing it, my doctor explained, noting that the sensation of thirst diminishes with age. You probably know you should drink water throughout the day, but you may not realize that waiting until you feel thirsty means you're already dehydrated. This is especially problematic after 65, when the thirst mechanism becomes less reliable while the body's need for hydration remains critical. Janet, a registered nurse who conducts health screenings at our community center, shared that mild dehydration is one of the most common preventable issues she encounters. We had one gentleman who thought he needed hearing aids, she recalled. After 2 weeks of proper hydration, his hearing improved significantly. The issue wasn't his ears, but reduced blood flow from chronic dehydration. I implemented a simple system. A large water bottle marked with time indicators ensuring I consumed at least 8 ounces every 2 hours. I also reduced my caffeine intake, which had been contributing to fluid loss. Within days, the headaches disappeared completely, and I noticed improvements in energy, skin texture, and even joint comfort. The depression that settled over me after retirement caught me completely off guard. I'd looked forward to freedom from work obligations for decades, yet 6 months into retirement, I felt increasingly worthless and disconnected. My doctor's prescription surprised me. Not antidepressants, but purposeful engagement. Humans need meaning at every age, she explained. Perhaps even more so in later years. You may have focused on financial planning for retirement without equal attention to purpose planning. While financial security is necessary, research consistently shows that having meaningful roles and contributions correlates more strongly with happiness and longevity among older adults. Michael, who counsels new retirees at our community center, described this as the purpose gap. I see people who planned meticulously for financial stability but gave no thought to how they would matter in the world post-career, he explained. They saved money but didn't save or develop new sources of meaning. My own purpose prescription involved identifying my core values and skills, then finding ways to apply them in my community. I began mentoring young entrepreneurs, using my business experience in ways that felt significant. I also committed to learning traditional woodworking, creating pieces that would outlast me and connect me to both history and future generations. I spent most of my life focused on tangible achievements: career advancement, home ownership, financial stability. It wasn't until my health crisis forced a broader perspective that I began considering the truly lasting impact of my life. Legacy, I discovered, isn't primarily about assets bequeathed, but about wisdom shared and values transmitted while you're still actively engaged in living. You might be postponing important conversations or experiences, assuming there will always be time later. This common misconception leads many to focus on daily logistics, rather than purposeful legacy building through intentional connections and knowledge sharing. Thomas, who facilitates intergenerational programs at the community college, described remarkable transformations when seniors actively engaged in legacy work. We had a retired engineer who thought her value was in the buildings she designed, he said. But when she began teaching and mentoring students, she realized her greatest contribution would be the dozens of young people carrying her approaches forward. My own legacy work began with recording family stories and wisdom for my grandchildren, expanded to mentoring younger professionals in my former field, and evolved into community advocacy for issues that will affect generations beyond my. This forward-focused perspective has given my daily choices new meaning and connected my limited lifespan to something far more enduring. If you've made it this far and found value in these reflections on healthy aging, I'd be grateful if you'd take a moment to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share it with someone who might benefit from these insights. Together, we can build a community committed to making our golden years truly golden through intentional, informed choices. Remember, it's never too late to change the habits that shape your future.